Hey, welcome to The Melancholy Guy, a companion podcast to my Tumblr blog, The Melancholy Guy, daring to be open, daring to be black, open, and free. The adventures of a divorced, open, polyamorous African American male. I am The Melancholy Guy, Calvin, or CPJR if you know me. And today, I definitely believe that change I must or die I will. Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast. This is the 28th episode of The Melancholy Guy. The Melancholy Guy, like I said, is a companion podcast to my Tumblr blog. And my Tumblr blog can be found at melancholyguy.tumblr.com. I hear an echo and it's like bugging me, but I'll work it out. All right, I think that's better. All right, so hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today is Friday, and I think I did my last podcast on Friday, or maybe it was Saturday. I can't remember, but it was last week, so I'm on my weekly cycle, hitting it pretty hard, and I'm happy about that because I have time right now. And although I do have things happening and going on, it's really easy for me to get here on Friday night and record the podcast, which I like doing because I like being consistent. It's important to be consistent. One of my favorite podcasts, the Inner Whole Uprising, they showed me that it can be done. 3 young ladies, or 4 actually, young ladies out of New York, all in their 20s. Their podcast is pretty much posted on a weekly basis, and if it isn't, they're communicating with their audience, telling us why it's late. I think it was late last week because of sickness. The main host, Sam, was sick, and so it was late that one time, but that's pretty much can be expected because we don't have staff. There's usually 1 or 2 people doing all this, the editing, getting ready for the show, actually doing the show, editing the show, and then posting the show. So anyway, so let's get into it today. I know last week we talked about, I don't know what I talked about. I talked about the single woman. It was about unicorns, the single by babe, and I was talking about how it's not a thing in swing. It's a thing in swinging. There are single women that, like I said, do swing, and they're just there dating couples. And I went on our old profile just to see how many. And they're like many. Well, I shouldn't say there are many. From my perspective, there were enough to, try to go out with or date. Some of them were looking for either a guy or a woman. A few were looking for couples. All were looking to just date, hang out, and have fun in the swinging world. So it's not and they don't hide. And it's interesting. Also, I know I say interesting a lot, but that's my thing. So I went on the, I'm on Facebook, and I'm not in any groups, and I'm noticing how a lot of people aren't in the groups anymore. So now they're just posting out in the open about, what's going on in, black and polyamorous world, or their life, or polyamory, or their issues. And just last week, right after I did the podcast, somebody just posted their, I guess, yearly rant about the whole issue, and it is an issue, of couples, heterosexual couples. Well, no, they're not heterosexual. One's bi. So I would say just couples looking for the unicorn, single bi women, to join their union, marriage, however you want to call it, and create a throuple, a triad, and how it's just they're attacking, they're persistent in always contacting any woman that says she's bi. Once that's stated, and if you're single, mostly if you're single, you're gonna be, they're gonna attack you. They're gonna be in your box. It's gonna be creepy. So he's gonna be the guy, the male, just in your box, trying to get you to join their couple, and that's it. And I know I jumped on the thread, and I joke about it and try to make people laugh, but it's just, and I also talk about how serious it is, and actually you actually could see like some young women who were saying y'all should post this in the group, and it's a serious issue. How there were some women were saying that they left the group because it's just it's creepy, and it's just persistent how couples are coming at these young ladies, and it just isn't right. Unless I would say that unless somebody specifically states that they want a couple, the same as when I was looking on the swinging site, and I specifically said some were looking for a male partner, some were looking for a woman partner. I said male and woman. I said a female. Some were looking for a male partner, some were looking for a female partner. Some were looking to couples, and some were looking for anything. Couples, males or females, to swing with, and so they were open to anyone coming into their inbox with this thing that we call polyamory on Facebook. Women don't have to state their preference. Even if they state their preference, they're still going to be approached by couples in their inbox and trying to get them to get into a situation. And here's my thing. The last word that I left on that thread, and I do believe this, that any young lady that's looking to date a couple or join a couple, create a triad, throuple, whatever you want to call it, I would say that if you're dating a married couple and they're not willing to get divorced and then form something between with the three of you, or talk about maybe switching the marriage to don't do it, because you're basically going into something where you're always going to be on the out. Basically, the reason I say that is because the marriage carries so much power. So many rights are just automatic once you're married. You'll never have that. You'll never have insurance. You'll never have someone that can, come into you, talk for you, except for your parents. If you're dying in the hospital, in a coma, you'll never have it. You'll never have those rights. They won't be automatic for you. And unless they're willing to, do that, give you those rights, work with you to have those rights, you'll never be a full part of that situation. And I could be wrong. You could talk to me about it, but that's the way I feel. Unless they're willing. And then when I got this idea from, I read the book Stories from the Polycule. Elizabeth the Chef, I think, wrote it. But anyway, I read that book, and I heard this one couple, that's what they were talking about. Getting divorced for their other partner, because it just seemed like the right thing to do. If that's never discussed, you shouldn't be there. You're not going to be a partner, and especially if it's going to be closed, you're just out. You're just ass out. Everything. If you have your kids are assed out, because you aren't going to be part of the union. And basically, what you could do is get divorced, go to a ethically non-monogamous friendly lawyer, or lawyer that practices this type of law, and then get something drawn up, power of attorneys, whatever you want to call it, agreements, legally binding documents that you're still gonna have to fight for if something happens. But at least you'll have it that you can, the insurance won't be able to do, maybe. But if you're in the hospital, or if you're dying, or just things that will automatically, things that we take for granted between the husband and wife, hospital visits, all that type of stuff. And that's what you're going to be not getting. Anyway, I don't want to go into that again. I just wanted to mention that again. From last week, Polygal, her name was Echo. And anything else I want to mention from last week? Okay, so we're gonna go into. I'm gonna read one blog entry today. So the show is broken into 3 parts: past blog, present life, future recovery. Um, and I want to talk about. I'm gonna read one blog entry today, and I'm gonna talk about. Like I said, it's gonna be talking about threesomes. I'm gonna go ahead and put a disclaimer out there now. If you're listening to this podcast and you're a prude, you have a problem hearing about sex, you have a problem hearing about the term threesomes or anything like that, I'm not going to be graphic. I'm just going to talk about my experiences when we were swinging and we had threesomes, what that was about, what it looked like, what was enjoyable, what worked for us, and what didn't work for us, and why I'm not too, it was fun, but I'm not really, it's not, it's not the be all end all, but actually it's some fun times. So if you don't want to hear that, go away. This is at 11:38 in the thing, so I'm gonna say at the end. I'm gonna say also, 11:38. I'm gonna put it in the show notes. I'm talking about threesomes at this point, and I'm gonna put in the show notes when you can skip forward if you want to hear the present and the future. Right now, we're gonna go into the podcast. So I'm gonna read one entry from this time, and the thing about the whole time that we were, with these, young ladies and this part of our swinging adventure or non-monogamy lifestyle was that I didn't write about almost none of this. I wrote about one person, and that was near the end of 2012, and I'm saving that entry for her. I think Dara, I think I talked about her already. We met her at the party on the 12th, and the reason that I keep wanting to save it because, like I said, we went through swinging to get to polyamory, or I did. We went through swinging to get to the end of my marriage, but we went through swinging as part of our ethical non-monogamy. So I'm gonna save that story for the end because I think it's relevant to talk about when I start to transition it, and we're coming. I would say I don't have the shows like mapped out in my head right now, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week after I get past this one. But I don't know. It's going to be about 3 or 4 more shows that's going to be dedicated just to, swinging. So just to let someone know, keeps complaining to me about it. They don't want to hear about swinging, but it's part of our journey. So I'm going to talk about it. And so anyway, I'm reading this from February 28th, and it's called Loving the Flexibility. And the reason that I'm reading this is because when we were starting to, date, these young ladies and were inviting them over or going out with them, we were at a good point, and it's going to be something relevant I'm going to talk about. We were at a good point in our marriage and in our non-monogamy because we were just chilling, having a good time, not stressing it. And I'm going to talk about not stressing. And it was like, so I guess I wrote this on February 28th, and I'm going to read it now. I love how we are able to evolve and change. Oh, the title is called Loving the Flexibility. I love how we are able to evolve and change in our non-monogamy. Our relationship just grows closer and adapts to the people moving in and out of our lives. I was chatting with new polygal today, and she gave me a quote after talking about a recent second guy that couldn't handle the poly life after his feelings got deep and the relationship had to end. I asked her how did she handle the end of the relationship and was it worth it? And her reply was, I believe it's always worth it. Love is what makes life so much sweeter. Okay, I'm all about the sweetness of life. Sweetness. Oh, it's good to be over all my past breakups. I'm cool. I don't have any more heartaches and that bullshit. So I'm good. I'm good, man. You know, as soon as I get a job, I'll be even better. But I'm good. I'm good. I think that's going well too. The search for the job, interviews are going well. Just waiting on the offer. Anyway, so that was it, and I chose this because it's basically talked about the in and out of our lives. So I would say that when we were on the websites, what is it called? I don't know what it's called. The what's that website called? Well, the swinging websites. I forget what they're called now for some reason. Like I know one's called Lifestyle Lounge, and I think it's Lifestyle Lounge. Anyway, in those sites, Black Swingers Club. So basically, you go out and you see different people, what they're looking for, and when they're online, you just send them notes. And then I was, looking for people to hang out with, and I found, single women. And I don't think any single woman approached us specifically, but we had got some responses. Our first one was, and it was unusual. It wasn't unusual. So basically, we just responded. So we got our first one was, her name was April, I believe, and she was somewhere in the DMV, and she just came over. Sent her a note, talked that day. Did the whole trading pictures thing, and we didn't even have to go on a date. Like, she just came over to the apartment, and it was a weeknight too. It was, cause we both work, and then having to entertain. It wasn't a late night though, actually. So she just came over, and just like after trading pictures and talking a little, texting back and forth, she came over and we got into our attire, chilled out, and we were sitting on the couch, had drinks, and I used to start things off with let's all do we do a three-way kiss. All of us kiss each other at the same time, and then just start, the night. And so it's interesting. Remember, I'm a demisexual, and I guess for me, it was fun because it was actually, giving somebody their first experience, being able to relax. And then I think that most people wonder about, and I was hearing this on the Inner Whole Uprising this week because they're talking about polyamory too, how it's awkward or something like that, to be in a threesome. But basically, if you go into a couple and the couple's cool, they should be trying to make you the special guest, right? Like, if you're entering into their house, you should be, or they, if unless it's been discussed as what's going to happen, and we didn't, because this was our first one, and we just made her the special guest, and it was a good night. But it was a very I would say mechanical night, because like I said, it was our first time. She just came over. We didn't date or anything. We just happened. She came over, and then after she got dressed, went home. And we just talked a few times after that, but then eventually that was it. Never saw her or played with her again. Was that mean it didn't go well? I don't know. I don't say it was fun or anything like that. I can say it was fun, but it wasn't Wayne Bang because we didn't really know each other. We didn't get a chance to talk, bond, see if there was a real attraction there. It was just very mechanical. It was like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. Let's get this on. Okay, I'm good. I'm out. Okay. So anyway, the second time we met someone, we met Shamika. Shamika was a long ordeal. We met her. She came out of Baltimore. I think we met her on the other website, not Swingers. not on the Black Swingers Club. It was the other site, um, swing set lifestyle something. Anyway, so we actually did date her. We met her at like at a pool up in Silver Spring at the little pool hall down there up there. Uh, Not a pool, it's a pool hall restaurant bar. So we met up there, played some pool, chilled out, talked, and it was our first time actually interacting, us as a couple, interacting with someone else, a woman. And it was, I think, we did the whole, meet everybody. Everybody's trading back trading text messages back and forth. Everyone's getting to know each other. But then again, it was still more so me doing more communication than my ex-wife, and so it just seemed like me and a few times during the evening in the pool hall, it just seemed like it was just me and her. Like my ex-wife was just not over there, not really trying to participate in the conversation, or just didn't seem like she wasn't out of it. So it was kind of weird. So yeah, Samika was younger than us. I think she was like in her late 20s, and we were definitely in our late 40s at that time. Heidi was a couple of years older than me, so we were definitely in our late 40s at that time. But that didn't matter. We all still got along very well, had a good time, and so we left there, and of course went back to the house. Got back to the house, did the whole little ritual or routine that I put in place to get things going, and that was the night. She stayed the night. So she actually did, because she was from Baltimore, so I guess it was understood. I guess it wasn't understood, but she stayed the night, and we had a good night. We had a good night the next morning, and here's a. I'm trying to think if this happened, because she was actually came over to the house a few times, and then I think one time we met her when we spent the weekend up in Baltimore. We were supposed to, but she had, because she used to go out a lot. She was a young lady, and she used to go out a lot. And so we were supposed to meet her in Baltimore one day, and I think I went out with her one time by alone. But I think that morning, or was it another morning? This is how it was. When I say that coming in and out of our lives, and this was more than we were actually close to dating her. Because it was like the next day, I think me and her was sitting up on the couch, and I think this was how long ago this was. The first Avengers movie had just came out that weekend, and I was going to go see it. I don't like going to opening movie, but that anymore. But then I don't think Avengers was as big as it is now. Like it was the first one, and that movie just rocked. So my ex didn't want to go, and Shamika was gonna go. We were gonna go that day. So me and Shamika, we were up. I think I cooked breakfast. Ex-wife was going to run out to do her routine that she does on Saturday mornings, which is return stuff she bought online during the week and then go to the mall. That was her routine on Saturday mornings. I never went because I let the people go shopping on and do their own thing. I don't like going shopping. So she was like, okay, I'll see you later. Me and Shamika sit on the couch, all cuddled up, kissing. And it was like a cool morning. It was like no static. No static. It was like, cool. I'm like, you guys going to movies, have fun. I think we sat around a little bit more, a little long time. Me and her got up, went to the movies. And I was like, man, what the neighbors think about this? Wife just left. I'm going to the car, going to the movies. And it was her first time seeing a movie like that. And, she enjoyed the movie. Going to take her kids. And it was a good day. It was definitely much more involved. And then me and Shamika continued to talk more and more. And I was actually going to name this, the name of this podcast, Threesomes Swinging with a question mark, because it really didn't feel like swinging, but it was. And the reason that I say it was because we met the women in the swinger scene and how it ended with Shamika. It ended with Shamika. It didn't end badly, but just ended strangely. And it ended weird because but at the end of our so yeah, so we kept trying to talk to Tamika more and more. My wife was she was disappearing from the relationship, and it turned out to be just me and her, and we had discussions about it, and it was causing an issue with me and my wife, not a real issue. But she was just, my wife was like, well, she was like, she don't want to talk to me. She don't respond to me and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I had to go and talk to Tamika, like, why you don't respond to her and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Then I think I had a conversation with Shamika, and I'm like, you aren't really into this the whole threesome triad type thing, right? She's like, you basically are just in this until you get your own man. And she said, yeah, I'm just doing this, it's just fun, right? Oh, and then later on, near the end of our swinging, we started hanging out with groups of couples, just couples. We weren't doing the whole single woman anything anymore. And we was with this one group, and I was out like bowling by myself, and then one of the guys came. We were dating them as a couple, and he just came to the bowling alley too. We hang out, drink some beers, and roll some balls. And he was just telling me about he knew Shamika, and the funny thing about him is him and his wife, they were into swinging because he was a cheater, and his wife was just trying to keep him to stop cheating. So they were swinging for. That's what I mean. That's why we were like, you can see we're just getting slowly more and more to the point of leaving because it just got weird. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't really have. I mean, we probably could have, but we just couldn't find those quality couples. And I'll tell you about another incident with our first couple, who got us into swinging. The first couple that we were with. Later on, something happened with them, and I guess something would happen with us too because we got divorced. So anyway, so it seems that he knew her and he had been with her and all this kind of stuff, and he was saying that she was into BDSM and all this other stuff, and I'm like, and so I asked her for some reason. I went back and asked her, and she looked at me like, "What? I'm gonna tell you for?" And I'm like, "What? Okay, all right, I'm done with this." So that was it. That was it for her, and I think we had two more really, and there's some other situations I'll talk about later because they weren't polyamorous. They weren't swinger relationships. They were something else. And then we met one young lady. I think I met her on the Black Swingers Club, and I didn't like her. I mean, I don't know. That's it. The name again. I'm sorry. My ex-wife not that she didn't like her. She just wasn't vibing with her. Right. She was extremely just aggressively bisexual, and in the middle of it, ex-wife wasn't feeling that anymore, that energy that much anymore. So anyway, so I think the whole thing was I had to go down somewhere and pick her up or bring her up to the apartment to hang out with us. I think I bought her, her cognac that she liked. I think it was just more me. This one was strictly for me, I think. And it was like, we came up, had a good time. They had a good time. We chilled. It was just that was a party night that night. You know what I'm saying? I was walking around feeling like, what's that dude? Hugh Hefner type night. Walking around in my smoking jacket, just having a good time. Because we were like partying, music playing, everybody sipping. Yeah, that was a nice chilled out night. Really, had a good time that night. But then something happened the next day. I had to spend the night. I had to drive her home in the morning. I did not feel. She wasn't feeling. My ex-wife was not feeling that. Having to, chauffeur someone around, and so I don't know. Something happened. I'm driving her home. She's like, "Could you take me to the grocery store? I need to buy some food for my kids and all this kind of stuff." So it was like, "Oh," she said, "You got to take her to the store, didn't you?" That's what she said. And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." No, I didn't buy her anything. She just needed a ride, So they just didn't sit well with my ex-wife. Like it was gonna be drama filled, And that was it, man. That was it. Like I didn't, like I said, the G threesomes were fun, but they weren't like for earth shattering because it it's for me. If you're all about the sex, and you know you're into like sport fucking and all that kind of stuff, you know that could be your thing, you know. But for me, like it wasn't memorable. The only memorable time I think I had was with Sarah Dare, who I'm not going to talk about yet until because she's later on in the story, and because of we were in a different part, and I didn't meet her on the site. Remember, I met her at the party, and then we moved into another part of our swingings when we actually saw her again and again, and then that's when I started talking to her at that point. And so for me, like it was like the only person, like either Sarah Dare or Shamika, because you know we were talking a lot. That was special. And then like we spent time, you know, sitting on the couch making out, and she was like, "I normally don't kiss, but this is great." And so that was like, I don't know what the young dudes do, but you know, we like to kiss, and I'm a big kisser, so it was fun just sitting on the couch. And then it was cool also like having, you know, your wife there. She's cool with it, everything, you know. It was just a nice time. I just remember those times. So for me, everything's relational, you know. It's about relationships. If it's about relationships, it's cool. I remembered it. I enjoyed it. And but if it wasn't, like the first girl, April, I don't remember it. And then some later on, we were doing the progressive love thing, and that's when I was getting more involved off the other websites and being more on Facebook, and started meeting women who were all about relationships. And I'll talk about that at that time. But so that's it, man. That's threesomes. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big deal. Everybody wants it. You got to be into it. You got to be, if you're a couple, man, you got to be secure in your relationship. You can't be dragging nobody into it, making them want to do it. You can't be trying to, you know, fulfill your fantasy, man. It should be about, I don't know. For me, sex is sacred. So it should be something that's sacred. If it's not, it's just, if it's about, you know, spoil fucking and that's all you're gonna do, make sure everybody's on the same page. I hate for anyone to, you know, come out of a sexual time or anything with me and not be fulfilled, or me not be fulfilled. So that was my always my what I was trying to always achieve in these things, and that's why I was like, you know, that quick stuff, like I was really thrown off by it, and just not having an attachment with somebody or someone. I was definitely thrown off by it. So, you know, if you like that thing, if you like it, if that's what you want to do, and you're running around on Facebook, just stop, man. Just go into the swinger world, man. You could hook up, do your thing. Just stop chasing the women around Facebook. Attacking them, man. It's like piranhas and putting in fresh fish, goldfish, and just tearing them up. Of course, they're gonna run from you. So it's supposed to be a safe space, man. Let's make it a safe space and leave those single women alone. So that's it, man. That's it. I'm gonna go leave that there. That's threesomes. So basically, if you want that, get that. Make sure you're into that. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure that if you're a couple, make sure you're secure in your relationship. Make sure you guys, you know, talk it out what's going to happen. And the whole thing with the whole rules, if there's like insecurities, jealousy, just don't do it, man. Save yourself a lot of headache. If you have, you know, if your wife has a problem seeing you with someone else, or, oh, I can't talk about the threesome with the two dudes because we didn't do that. It was on the menu, trying to be scheduled, but it didn't happen. Not by me. I was fine with it. I was like, we need to do that. Then she wanted to find a dude so she could be the star for the night, and I was like, yeah, go ahead, I'm ready. And but didn't happen. Like I said, we did have some, close to some threesomes, but it wasn't like in some, parties and group sex situations where it was like me and another guy or two guys. While I was someplace else doing something else, but we didn't have, a date with another guy. It could have happened, man. It might have been fun. But I'm not running that show. That's on her. She got to run that show. That's not my deal. But I was definitely open to letting it happen. So, like I said, if you make sure you're secure in your relationship and everybody's okay with what's getting ready to happen, because it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, if you have to go into it with a bunch of rules and you're going to freak out, don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, if chill, relax, let it happen. You know what I'm saying? If you could smoke something, drink something, but just relax. And then it'll be great. Trying to like tick off little check boxes, that's stupid. All right, so that's my threesomes. I'm done with it. I'm happy to be done with that. And so I think next week I'm gonna go into groups, probably how you can find groups and swinging with groups, and the having the regulars. I think is what I'm gonna go into. This is so you can tell, like, when we got here, we're getting to the end of our swinging, because that was it. We just kept trying different things and trying to find our niche. And we didn't. And so we moved out of that. So that's it. That's the past. I'm going to talk about the present now. So I'm going to talk about some current event things real quick. And just to clear up some things from last week. I don't think I need to clear up anything. But I just wanted to, I didn't mention the allegations against Nas. This whole, like, I can't say the Me Too movement, just the whole thing about men treating women like trash, treating women like nothing. It's just, I don't understand. I've never did that. So I don't have any, like, my issue was I was treating myself unhealthy in an unhealthy way, which caused me to not be the best person in the relationship. Right. That was my issue. My addiction. And, but I didn't have any issue with beating women, raping women, sexual abuse. Probably when I was in high school, there was coercion. I didn't fully understand consent at that time. But past that time, nothing. I just never did. Never had laid a hand on the finger. So to hear like women talking about how they've been abused, almost all of them in some way, or harassed in some way, it's disheartening. It's disheartening to be to actually be, I don't know, I would say a feminist or a womanist or whatever, but then there's to see, like, I see women as equal partners in my relationships. I see them as partners. I don't see me as being their head or any of that bullshit. I just see us being as partners, equally helping each other or healing each other or assisting each other through life, right? That's how I view it. And just to see what happens with women in some of these relationships is disheartening. It's actually, it like pisses me off. And then to have, Khalees launch allegations against Nas, but then, I got into some interesting conversations about it on Facebook, and it seems that, apparently some of it was their life together. It was kind of rocky, and no one's sure exactly what happened, or it was equally done. They were just fighting each other. But then she also levied the, absentee dad thing, not being around, not being consistent, not being responsible. And, there's been no response from the Nas camp, and I'm still on the fence about it. What to do? I want to trash his music, but I don't want to trash his music because I like Nas. I'm a fan. He's a rap idol. So and then we had the I'm not gonna talk about Twitter dude Kanye, and there's nothing to talk about. He had an interview with Charlamagne the God, very good interview, I think, and went on TMZ, and it caused me to go in and study the whole situation of who Kanye was and where he came from, and I guess after reading that, I'm like, okay, I understand now. This is who he is, and it's just gonna be like that. And since I've already decided a while ago to trash his music, why should I be shocked now? Because I didn't listen to Life of Pablo at all. I don't know one song off of that album. And so I'm going to continue to treat the whole discography of Mr. West in the same way. And that's going to be that. So I think I also wanted to talk about, I talked about the rant on Facebook. Basically, the same thing's happening. I talked about, I'm going to leave that rant alone. I'm not going to say anything. That's it. I said all I'm going to say about it. I guess I'm going to leave it alone until the next time I see it on Facebook or any place like that, and I'm going to jump on it again. Leave them girls alone. So then I also wanted to talk about, I want to talk about like the podcast, where I'm going to see it's going. So a lot of people, I guess a few people are listening. They have noticed it, and they want to, people are asking me, they want to come on, and talk about their polyamory and talk about a specific subject that, I talk about in, my regular life. Because I do. Like I said, if you don't follow me on Instagram, the Melancholy Guy, or Twitter, Kyle Pierce Jr., or Facebook, you can go to Melancholy Guy, or find me on Facebook under my name. And you'll see like I write about, polyamory almost every day, or recovery or something like that. But, people are listening. Shout out to Alisha Noel. She actually shared my podcast from Spreaker onto Facebook, helping me out, man. Just spreading the word about the podcast. She says she's a fan. She listens, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I never, I didn't do this to expect to get any listeners, So I didn't know how long I was gonna keep it going, but I'm coming up with a vision for what I want to see in the future with the podcast. Definitely gonna have guests. Some people are asking to come on. I am working. I'm dating someone. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Because it's new, and it's not a new situation. It's someone that I was involved with before. Real poly, definitely poly, and just seeing how things go. Because I'm in a different place. I'm not the same person that I was then. I was in full-fledged addiction, acting like a fool, trying to have relationships, and she knew. I told her, and she was gonna, try to help me. She had some knowledge of it, some dealings with it in her family, and I don't know. If somebody's in active addiction, just leave them alone. Be a friend, hold space, but don't. That's all you can do. Be a friend, hold space, but let them go and do what they need to do, and just pray for them, and that's all you can do. That's all you can do. That's all I can say about that. Because I get emotional, and because I'm happy to be where I am today. Still clean, still sober, and learning to live in recovery all over again. This is not the first time, but it will be the last time. And so with that, just gave my shout out. And so I'm gonna basically the podcast is probably gonna be about polyamory stories from the polycule. I can't use that, but I like origin stories, and I like giving people a platform to talk about practical polyamory. I was talking to someone today about some issues in polyamory, dealing with swingers that call themselves poly, things like that, and I'll talk about that more. Anyway, so thanks for living. Thanks for looking. Look, thanks for listening. I'll be back next week. And I will talk. Oh, future. So yes, I'm still looking for a job. Been on interviews. Waiting on, some answers. Whether I'm gonna be get an offer letter. Have an interview next week, and hopefully this will be working soon, and I can talk about my other project. I can't talk about it yet because it's just sitting on the drawing board, waiting for me to pull the trigger. But I'm excited about that. Thanks for listening. The podcast can be found on Spreaker, Spreaker.com. You can find it on Instagram, The Melancholy Guy, Twitter, Cal Pierce Jr., Facebook, The Melancholy Guy. You can find all the links. You can find the podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, and I do this every Friday night. Be nice if you could write a review on either Stitcher or iTunes, or just send me a note. Let me know if you listen, if you get anything out of it. Let me know if you want to be on the podcast, if you got something you want to talk about. I am talking to this person about their podcast coming out soon, and possibly being a once a week guest on this podcast to talk about different issues. She's very spiritual, and I think will be a good person to add to the podcast, talking about different things, because being in swinging actually caused me to feel less spiritual and sent me on a spiritual quest, because I just felt empty after swinging. And it wasn't, I don't think it was like the sex or anything like that. I think it was just the fact that we just was drinking and partying all the time. It was just like, what the fuck? And it was like no emotion involved. It's just like fun times. And then you deal with people that are lying a lot. Just shenanigans. That's what I always say. So anyway, thanks for listening. I'll be back next week. Have a great week. Everything's going great, right? I hope so. I know it is for me. So always remember to love and respect yourself first, and everything else will take care of itself. Peace and namaste.